JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Tuesday, November 4th, election day, 9:11 a.m. Talk really quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from the S&P futures down over 1% here. Nasdaq's down about 1.5%. Uh, yeah, no major news or catalyst overnight. Uh, you read the headlines this morning. They say Uber's strong earnings met negative reaction to Uber's earnings was why the market futures are down. It's like they can just rationalize the headlines using some event that happened after the market already pulled back. But it seemed like futures were starting to sell off in the overnight hours, accelerated after Europe opened. Then 5 a.m. we hit the low. SPY hit 673.77. It's like one of those days. Not much in way of market catalyst news. So it's like a news vacuum. So after the close yesterday, you had the Michael Burry of the Great Short fame, his 13F filing. So it's 13F filing season. So if you don't know how that works, every quarter, fund managers who have over $100 million in holdings have to file their holdings, and they don't do cost basis or timing. They just have to post a position. So Michael Burry, who doesn't have to file that until November 14th, so 10 more days, and even after that doesn't have to hit. I think you have 3 days from that. His finally came out, and it shows, oh my gosh, he liquidated his Lulu long. So he was long Lulu. I don't know how much that was, a lot, but obviously Lulu's gotten destroyed. And all these other positions pretty much hit a reset button on his portfolio and then went the other way and has 5 million put positions in Palantir, a million put contracts in NVDA. And those two positions alone account for like 80% of his portfolio. So there's no cost basis. We don't know if we got this a month ago, 2 months ago. We don't know if he got it 3 days ago. He would have had to have gotten these positions within the last 2, 3 days to just be like slightly in the green on them, right? So, it's kind of funny. So, of course, this morning, what happens? The irony: Nvidia is taken on the chin. Palantir, which reported a great report after the close, monster being raised, which they've been doing, that's down. It actually was up. I think it was around 220 in the morning. And let's see here. I didn't pull it up. Reverse course kind of later in the evening hours, and then just let's see here. What was it? It was hit 222, and then it's been kind of like melting ever since the overnight hours. 200s by midnight, and then it's in here at 190. Um, at some point he'll be right with this, and I'm not using him as like he has $100 million in hold. I think that's his portfolio. Maybe it's a couple $100 million. So he's not like some of these bigger funds have billions and billions of assets under management. So, but he's just a great proxy for maybe the bearish sentiment. I don't know. I mean, he's been long on China ADRs. He was long on China a long time ago and got taken to the woodshed on Baba and some of these other names, and then most recently, obviously in the spring summer these names went bonkers. So, I'm funny. I'm actually kind of in the boat. So he posted a tweet after his finally came out, showing the kind of the AI circle jerk, the circularity nature of these business deals. And I posted this. I think this is from Bloomberg. Must have had some kind of article that came out. Oh, there it goes. They sweetened the deal. MSTR. So Met Share, however you pronounce it, I guess they upped the ante on this acquisition in GLP-1 space. That's why VKTX is getting a bid here. All right, so I've been talking about the great circle jerk for a couple of weeks now, and if at some point a year from now, 2 years from now, we have this major, I would hopefully not a crash, but some major bear market or correction based on this capex AI spending circle jerk, someone's going to probably trademark the great circle jerk and get all the acclaim for it. But anyway, I'm not here. I'm here to make money on trading the options, so I don't care so much about that. But he posted that same thing, kind of like showing the circular nature of all these deals. And this chart has Nvidia in the middle of that circle, right? The epicenter of all the action. But there's a lot more to that than just Nvidia, and a lot obviously has to do with OpenAI. But anyway, at some point, the moral of the story is at some point he's right? Maybe. To me, I was looking. I'm like, if you're going to do the puts, to me, Nvidia. I mean, maybe there's some froth there, right? You can make some money on it. But to me, the Palantir is a crazy one. I remember looking, I don't know if it was a year and a half ago, 2 years, someone might have messaged in the chat room or I saw it on FinTwit, and I start to look at the fundamentals on Palantir. It was like a $25 stock, I remember, and people were like, oh, this thing's going to go bonkers, short squeeze, whatever the whole story was. And I looked at it, I'm like, it traded already at like 50 times revenue or something. Just a crazy story. And then you start digging, it's like very hard to find. It's not like you go into the supermarket and look at the shelf to see a Beyond Meat's product on the shelf, right? You can't do boots on the ground research. It's very hard to find out exactly what they do. And the other part of it is a lot of it's government contracts. So back in the day, well, not even back in the day, but when you see these companies that have lots of revenues, the big thing in the filings used to always be customers, right? So if you have $100 million in revenues and 75% of those revenues come from one customer, typically that's a lot of risk, right? So when in regards to Palantir, a lot of their revenue comes from government contracts. So, hey, I could sit here. I don't want to say, if I went long at the $30, I mean, that'd be great. Would I've been able to hold? To me, the important part, and I've been taking this the last week or two, the important part of trades is the hold, right? You got to be able to hold the ups and downs. All these people have been trying to short Palantir all the way up to $200. And now it's like, does this go to 300 or is this a name this is the top and it's going to start to head down? And the thing is, even if it goes back to $100, it still trades like 5,000 times revenues, right? It's a nearly a $500 billion company, and it might have hit 500 billion after hours yesterday. And it's like very hard to look at where the revenue comes from. Anyway, so sometimes I always say when things boggle my mind too much, maybe I should just stay away, right? So anyway, but that might be part of my oh shit basket if things hit the fan. All right, I don't want to talk too much about that, but just quick on overall markets. Finally, put my another support resistance line on my SPY chart, my annotations. I had put the 658 level back in October, and now that's 679 level. So we hit that 3 times this week. We hit it on the way up 678 and change October 10th. So that looks like a decent spot to kind of find some support. We'll see what happens here today. My favorite days, and when we have gap ups like we did last week, I hate gap ups because a lot of times that's the top for stocks right at the open, or at least individual names too. I love gap downs and reversals, right? So I don't know if we're going to get that today. I prefer to have gap down reversals on Fridays. But certainly watching here today, I'll be open for more put hedges. I just have the Adobe puts right now and obviously the dust positions. So as miners sell off with the broad-based market sell off, those miners are going to sell off, meaning dust is going to go higher. So it's kind of like my 2 hedges on. But I'll continue to look for opportunities, especially 673 is a big spot for me on the SPY. So we can't hold that today. We hit that level back at the start of October a couple times. And overnight hours, 673.77. All right, so that's kind of on downside. And the other side, you got to be like optimistic, right? We've seen these sell-offs be an opportunity. So we might be lower in the coming 2 weeks, but we might bounce here today. So always try to have a glass half full kind of mentality. Also talking about the bad breath yesterday too. The amount of stock trading over their 50-day moving average, still 37%. So again, you can look at it 2 ways, right? His market breadth has been bad, but despite that, the market's still right near all-time highs. And the other side of it is you can make the case, okay, there's opportunity for some of these other stocks to start participating in the market. And if that happens, that could provide the next legs. And then 2 other things, yields still creeping higher. That's probably the worst case scenario for me if the 10-year continues to melt higher and we start getting near that 425, 430. That might be a problematic. And then the U.S. dollar, funny, right? Everybody talks about the death of the U.S. dollar, and here it is, right at that 100 handle. Well, we got above it back in May, got back above it near August, and then that was the end of it. Is this the start of a bull market in the U.S. dollar? Just everybody's been talking about the death of the dollar and its loss of its reserve status, currency status, and then here it is, rallying. No one's talking about it, right? All right, that's overall market. Now, just quick on some individual names. First, just on Roku. I mean, I was saying on the Rant yesterday afternoon, it's like Roku finally shook off its trading pattern for the last 2 years, where any kind of rally it's had intraday, it tends to sell it off. Yesterday, it had that rally right at the open. It was 111, sold off, but then it found buyers. Then there was 107 and back up to 109. So good sign here. We'll see if we get a duplication of that today. Obviously, the overall market's not going to help it, especially if the S&P is solidly in the red and the NASDAQ. So we'll see how it plays out here today. But I used the opportunity yesterday to lock some more of those 115s out, just because obviously we're getting close to November 14th, so I don't want to be holding on to those the closer we get. If it just trades flat, those premiums are just going to come out. And then we have a couple of them. So lock some more of those out for over 300%. I'll just continue to hold those. And then I still have some of the 130s. Of course, hindsight, maybe I should close them all last Friday, but I still think that this has possibility of heading higher. Yesterday was Piper Sandler throwing in its throwing in the towel on its possible bear case, its sell rating, right? Upgraded to buy, I think, from neutral. They have neutral. Yeah. So you have to think some of these other analysts might start throwing in the towel. That could be the next catalyst. So holding those strikes allows me to kind of like take advantage if there's more upside in lieu of trying to add some more strikes that maybe it trades flat for a couple of days. So that's Roku. After the close tomorrow, we have Lemonade reports earnings. So I tried to do some premium build into earnings yesterday. The calls are insane to try and play on a risk reward basis. I'm not one who try when you do earnings trades, or at least when I do earnings trades, I do lottos. Lottos are very inexpensive for me, right? I usually 25-cent call contracts, something like that, because those are you try to for me when I'm doing option trades, you're trying to take very small into very big, right? So a lot of times when you try and take very big and turn it into even bigger, that doesn't work out, or it's a heck of a lot more risks. And the reason you do the option, or at least the reason I do them, is my risk is defined, and I can do small risks for large reward. When I'm looking at Lemonade, there's not a lot of strikes that scream low risk, high reward. So in lieu of trying to do that, I would look to get some calls, get some premium bill, lock them in to cover costs, ride the rest of the earnings. I don't know if I'll get that chance again here today, but I'll continue to look for opportunities. I was saying it yesterday morning. It's like if there's any hint of some kind of partnership with OpenAI or some other spin on it in regards to what's going on with all these partnerships and deals, that could send it. And just got this huge short interest, so I don't take much. Now that's Lemonade. Duolingo also reports after the close tomorrow. Another name, insane premiums. I just posted before. It's trading at 250. The 350 weekly strikes, $100 out of the money. So you're talking pretty much a 40% move, are 280 by 350. So even if you get the market makers, you fiddle around, you get filled for $3. You're talking about a $3 contract that you have to see the stock move probably 30 something percent after earnings just for the premiums to hold up. So again, not the type of trade I like to take on. Uh, but at the same token, maybe I can get some premium build. Look to get maybe the 320s. I don't know. And then lock them in, cover costs, ride the rest. Again, one of those stories I think is misunderstood. So when you have a misunderstood story, it creates opportunity on both sides. In my opinion, I think it trades higher. So that's that. Um, let's see here. I don't have my gold chart, but gold is finally, it's been just right around that 3,400 of that 4,000 handle. It was 40.20, 40.30, then back down to 4,000, then 39.90, and it's back under 4,000 here. I keep thinking it's heading to 3,800 bucks, and then I think it heads substantially lower. That's my opinion. I have my two phrases that I'm pointing, right? The great circle jerk, and I think the other one's the great unwind. And I think some of the move up in gold, I mean, it's having a historic rally this year, is that there's a lot of folks out there who thought tariffs were going to be going to destroy everything, right? And that was back in April. And if you look at vehicles to try and protect yourself or hedge yourself from a, they were calling for like financial Armageddon, right? Crazy stuff was going to happen with the tariffs. Gold was the way to go. And I think some of the reason it got bid up is because of that. So to me, that hasn't really panned out the way that it was supposed to, or at least that was being touted out there by financial pundits and stuff, and they still are. They're all waiting for those warehouses that were all stocked goods ahead of the tariffs to run out. So now they have to raise prices, and maybe at some point, I keep saying at some point there'll be some impacts, but it's been muted at best. But I think that's some of the, that's why I look at it as almost like a great unwind, that folks are going to start unwinding this. I'm not saying, I always say there's parts of assets that are good for every portfolio. I'm not saying gold's not I'm not a registered investment advisor. I always say that. But at the same token, I think when you take a look at where it was at the start of the year, I mean, what are the cases that you can make for gold? Everybody talks about the central banks gobbling up gold, and maybe that's some of it. But I just think there's opportunity. All right, let's have a great day, folks. Oh, last but not least, Bitcoin's down 15% in November. We're on November 4th. So it's been holding up pretty well. And that's almost like a proxy for risk, right? When back in the day, especially the last 5 years or so, Bitcoin used to have severe moves with the market, almost like if the markets weren't open over the weekend, you could look at Bitcoin as kind of like a proxy for market sentiment heading into Monday. And here it is. I mean, is that a sign that maybe there's some, how would you call it, turbulence in the wind, a storm incoming? I don't know. Again, I don't like to do the fear mongering or have the do the FUD stuff, but certainly have to be aware of scenarios, right? And at some point, if we do have some pull, everybody's gonna be patting their back, saying, "I told you that we're gonna have some crazy pull." But anyway, just don't be surprised if I had some put hedges today. If we do break support, 673 is a big spot. All right, let's have a great day, folks. I'll be back. Rock and roll.